Hi there, welcome to the latest edition of my 10-minute moan. The topic of today's 10-minute moan is the new figures that have come out showing the SNP membership, and guess what? It's fell again. I want to look at those figures and what potential knock-on effect that'll have to them as a party. Now, back in the heyday of the cult when King Nicola, don't know, is it Queen Nicola? I've never asked her to give me her pronouns, so I'm not 100% sure, but sorry, Queen Nicola was at her peak. The numbers were 125,000 members, which was considerably more than any other party in Scotland. By the middle of 2022, I can see figures suggesting about 104,000. So we started to see a bit of a decline around about then. Then, going into 2023, this is when we had some catastrophes with the party. We had, obviously, 3 of their leading lights be arrested and quite unceremonially having their garden searched and houses searched with a big blue tent out, the home of 2 of them. And the numbers started getting lied about by the party. If you remember, the Murray Foot, who's our PR guy, he was asked by, I think it was the Sunday Mail, that their figures had come down to, under the 100,000. And he went to party, asked them, were these figures right? He was told no, so he chased the papers. Only weeks later, those figures were actually accurate. So bad that he left because he'd obviously been lied to by the party. So when the figures eventually came out, they had to come out when there was the leadership race, because the party members need to know how many party members are voting, so they can look and say, right, okay, that's a fair amount of the membership voted for a leader or not. And the figures came out mid 2023 at a shocking 72,190. At that point, we heard all sorts of nonsense about it wasn't the party that was at fault here. It was a cost of living crisis. So that's what we were meant to believe, although there was no evidence from other parties showing such drastic drops over the time of this crisis. So that lets me believe 2 things. One, they are actually they tell lies. It's the economic crisis. It's to blame for our numbers going. Now, they either A, believe that nonsense, or B, they don't believe it, and they just tell lies to try and justify the membership, so they lie to the public. I actually hope that it's they believe it, because that's the way a lot of people in power become. They think they're invincible, and well, nobody could be taking memberships off of us because anything we've done wrong. So they need to blame exterior factors. And I'm quite surprised none of them's found a way of blaming Westminster for the membership drop yet, because that's their MO. But back then, 2023, they came up with 2 ideas to help people get through this economic crisis. And they told the public that they were going to keep their members and stop them leaving. They were going to do 2 things. They were going to allow them to reduce their membership costs, the amount of money they were putting in, and give them holidays, payment holidays. So if you didn't pay it for a few months, it was all right, you were still a member, right? Now, I thought at the time that might help. However, since then, in December, their National Executive Committee met, and they discussed the new numbers, which for the first time in quite some time are now under 70,000 members. They are indeed at 69,000 members. But it is worth remembering at this point the 2 things that SNP put in to try and save membership, and that was to give them little holidays, little breaks of paying, and the reduction of the amount that they pay in. So although the membership is still fallen by another 3%, 3,000, which will be about 5%, in the space of 6 months, their income will have come down more than that percentage, because some of, if not a lot of their members will have taken them up on the option of reducing the amount that they paid in, just to keep them as members. So as the membership dries down, even if the membership stayed the same, their income from members would have dropped because of the campaign they had to try and save them. The fact that they've got less money from the 72,000 they originally had, now there's another 3,000-4,000 giving them zero because they've left, their amount of money income to the party that's already £800,000 worth of deficit last year, right, is quite significant, because any losses are going to have a big knock-on effect to them as a party. I've already done a video about the money that they take off their MPs and their MSPs. So if they lose seats at the next election, I think they take about 10% of the wages off the members of Parliament in a parliamentary levy. That'll decimate their income as well. So all these little things, that thing, look after the pennies, the pounds will look after themselves. Well, they're losing lots of small pots of money, and it keeps going on. And it's worth remembering that when it comes to voting day, because the less MPs they've got from the next general election, the less levy they've got. People don't like to back losers. The party will lose more members, and the whole thing will keep going. And they will run out of money. It's guaranteed. All you need to do is stop voting for them, because their members are already dropping off. The next step is to cut the income stream from their parliamentary levy, which I believe the vast majority comes from Westminster MPs, so there's a general election coming soon. You know what to do with that. So it's massive. Not just the fact that they've lost members, the fact that you couple that to a party that's already at death's door financially, then is it? And the other thing is, all these deficits and stuff, they've still got to find the £600,000 from somewhere that they promised people giving them donations with the ring fence for independence campaigns. That £600,000 that the branch farm investigation's looking into. That's not there. So that's got to come in somehow. And they are morally and financially bankrupt as a party. Now, there's another two things that I want to discuss just now, just for in summary, which both of them I didn't think there was any truth in when I started hearing them. But the first one is Matheson, and apparently that crackpot's getting a £12,000 golden handshake because he resigned. If he'd been sacked, as he should have done, he wouldn't have received the £12,000. So not only did he take £11,000 out of the public purse a year ago, he's helping himself to another £12,000 by his actions yesterday in resigning. And another story that I actually didn't believe, it was so... I think I'd seen it maybe on Twitter or something and just flicked by it because I thought, that's somebody that's just hates the SNP more than me, just telling lies, right? I genuinely thought it was a non-story until I fell on it again yesterday, and it is a story. The SNP, in 12 months, paid a minimum of £4.9 million to Ipsos polling people. And is it any wonder that the Ipsos polls are sometimes the only ones that show figures that are a benefit to the SNP? For example, there's two polls been done recently gauging how many seats each party will have at the Westminster election coming up. And majority of them had the SNP away down in the 20-something seats. Ipsos had them at 40, right? And so when I seen this thing saying, they gave them £4.9 million, something like that, I thought it was nonsense. I just thought it was an urban myth. But it's actually more than that, and I'll tell you why it's more than that. I've had a quick glance at the figures. The figures that were given under a Freedom of Information request only counted invoices that were over £25,000. Now, there was a lot of them at £26,000, £27,000. So you've got to think there's going to be a lot at £24,000 and £23,000. They're not even taking into account this £4.9 million. So it's probably over £5 million in a year. The Scottish Government have paid a polling company, right? A polling company that miraculously find them favourably anytime they release a poll. These people think we're daft. But anyway, I'm going to do some more investigating on that and make a video of the whole, the story of it in its own video about this £5 million, because it's just becoming ridiculous. It's actually, here's a thing to consider. I hate them, right? I will produce a video about anything negative about them. I'll make no qualms, no apologies for that. When I seen the story about 5 million quid, I thought it was a lot of nonsense. It's that bad, right? They've lost the plot. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see some recommendations, they'll be in the corner. Join in the chat on the comments. But most importantly of all, have a great day. Bye now.